Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we are going to be ranking the best small forwards in NBA 2K25 MyTEAM here on this tier list. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 40,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, tons of consistent daily MyTEAM content. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Got about 20 of the best small forwards in MyTEAM. I added a couple of guys who are big shooting guards in this list, but for the most part, I wanted to keep it a bit unique from the other positions. But there just aren't that many like primary small forwards, small forward, power forwards in my team right now. Most of the small forward options, I mean, it seems like the most limited position right now if you're not including shooting guards. So I included a couple of the shooting guards, but overall just want to keep it as unique as possible, and that means it's a smaller list than the first two positions we've done. With that being said, I'm still going to do our best to rank these cards as effectively as possible. About 4 cards per tier here, probably because it's a smaller list. And we'll start off with one of the worst cards on this list, which is Paul Pierce. His jumper is an absolute atrocity. If his jumper was decent, this card would actually be pretty good, but his jumper is the worst jumper of any card in this list, bar none. I can say that with total confidence. And he is not good because of that. It is a broken, unusable jumper. I would not recommend ever putting this Paul Pierce card on the court, and therefore he is D tier. Kevin Garnett. Kevin Durant is definitely S tier. KD is an exceptional card. Is he worth $1 million MT? Absolutely not. Is he one of the best small forwards in the game? Absolutely. He is an elite level card, one of the top 3 or so small forwards in my team, and I think he is definitively S tier at the small forward position, without even a doubt in my mind. Although I will say, I added a couple of these shooting guards, and I think they might be better than KD defensively. So I say that definitively S tier without those guys. With those guys, he might not be. I don't know. We might have a decently big S tier on this list, actually. James Worthy's release could be better, but he's solid defensively, good slasher. The release isn't bad. It just seems a bit tough to green is what I mean. It's actually pretty smooth and pretty easy. I just think the green window on it feels a little small. He's not really much of a shot creator. I do think he's a solid card, though, and on a list where there aren't a ton of elite small forwards, he is going to go A tier, but I don't think he's an incredible card. Sharif Abdur-Rahim is the best Ruby card in my team. He is a really, really good budget small forward. I think B tier is actually a pretty fair spot for him, and I think he's a very solid card. I would take him over several of the small forwards left on this list that are higher tier guys. And I think as a 6'9" small forward with a good release, versatile defender, can guard in the interior, pretty decent badges as well. B tier is the right spot for him. Michael Porter Jr. This card has an awesome release, but he's not much of a shot creator. Defensively, he's mid, and he's not super athletic either. He's just not elite. He's not bad. He's 6'10". He's got an awesome release, and he's not horrific defensively because of the size, but he's not much of a shot creator either. I think he's definitely B tier. Good card, not unbelievable. Scottie Pippen, he's got to go S tier, right? I mean, he doesn't have the shot creation KD does, but he's a better defender and shot shooter than KD is in terms of release. KD has better stats, but I think Pippen's release is better. Honestly, I'm sitting here thinking KD might wind up high A tier, because as good as he is, with a couple of these small forwards added, I think he is. I think he's going to end up high A tier. If I'm only putting 4 guys in each tier, then KD can't be S tier. As crazy as that is to say, if Scottie Pippen and Paul George weren't on this list, then he would be S tier. But for me, I think he's got to go A. Lou Dort's not terrible, but he's got to be C tier, man. He's just not that good. 6'4" small forward provides a lack of size, number 1. And number 2, defensively, he's good, but he's not unbelievable badge-wise. He's not an elite interior defender, and again, the size is a limitation, so he's got to go C tier for me. Kiki Vandeweghe is fine. He's got an okay release. He's not a bad card, but he's not a top-tier small forward at this point either, missing a lot of badges. I think he's got to go C tier. OG Anunoby is an awesome card, but again, I think there's 3 other small forwards that go above him, so therefore he's an A tier guy as well. He and KD are both exceptional cards, and without Pippen and PG on this list would both be S tier. I think they're the 2 best small forwards in A tier, though, and 2 really, really good cards. OG is just an elite 3-and-D with real athletic ability. Very, very good card in A tier. Jerome Kersey stinks. He's not good. His jumper's not good. He's not a good defender. He's mostly a slasher. He's not an elite shooter. He's just not a great option at the small forward position. I think he has to go D tier. Paul George is 6'8", elite jumper. Yes, he's more of a shooting guard, but he's got the size, the defense, the shooting, the slashing, everything you need to be an exceptional small forward as well. On this list, he is definitively S tier. No doubt about it in my mind. I think he's a really, really good card. We got Andre Kirilenko here as well. He's got to go A tier, I think. As good as he's just definitely not S tier. He's not better than KD or OG. He's like a worse OG in my opinion. Faster release, but harder to green. Similar defensively, not as good of a slasher, and honestly, OG's badges are a little better as well. I like OG Anunoby a lot. I think he's really good, and I think AK's a slightly worse version in my opinion. They're both good cards, though, no doubt about it. I just lean OG, and I think they're both A tier, though. That I do agree with 100%. Scotty Barnes, solidly B tier. Not a bad card at all. Really good crossover. Solidly complete stats and badges. Does a lot of things really well at the small forward position. I think he's definitely B. I don't think he's A, but I do think he deserves a spot smack dab in the middle of that B tier. I am going to move Sharif Abdur-Rahim down. He's going to be high C because I think Ariza's better. I think Ariza's not unbelievable, but I think he's a pretty good card. I think his release is really good. I think he's a very good slasher, 90 driving dunk. Defensively, very solid as well. Pretty good badges, like not a bad card at all. I think he's solidly B tier. Honestly, I think Sharif might be a little bit better at the power forward position than he is at small forward, but honestly, I like the card a lot. I think the guys in C tier are decent. I just think the guys in B tier are a little bit better. Purvis Short, I almost want to put him B, C, but like I'm having a tough spot because I don't know who to put down in the D tier because nobody else in this list is actually D tier. So I think 6'4" Dort goes D tier, and I think we put Purvis in C tier and just have these lists because these lists are all the best cards. So the worst cards are the worst of the best, not the worst of the worst. I could have gone in here and put rubies and crappy amethysts and stuff in here so that I could have a true D tier of terrible cards, but I didn't. So the D tier is definitely going to be that weaker part, and I think Dort is going to be the last guy in D tier, only 3 D tier guys, but I think that allows me to put Purvis in C tier as well because I would take MPJ, Scotty, and Ariza all over Purvis. I think I like all of their releases better. I like all of them a little bit more as a whole. Purvis is not a bad card, though. He's the best card in C tier, and I actually think he's a solid small forward. Kind of does everything pretty well, just not amazing. Doesn't have a top tier release. There's nothing he super really excels at. Badges could be a little bit better as well. I think he's fine, but I don't think he's amazing. I think C tier's right. Keith Van Horn. You know, I'm looking at Keith Van Horn. He's MPJ. And honestly, he might even be a better version of MPJ because he's got better defensive badges than MPJ does. And honestly, I think his movement's a little bit better as well. I really like this card. I think he's very complete. I think he provides a lot of well, not very complete, but I think his release is awesome. He's got amazing shooting stats, and he's not bad. Like similar to MPJ as a slasher, slightly better defensively. Decent speed, 6'10" small forward. He's not a bad card. I think he's solidly B tier, and I think he definitely deserves a spot pretty high up. LeBron's still the best small forward in the game. Like, come on, it's LeBron James. He's insane. He's definitely the best small forward in my team, and I think he realistically is definitely an S tier card. And well, no, duh, it's LeBron freaking James. Especially with his improved jumper this year, he is as good as it gets at the small forward position in my team, which is crazy to say about a card that came out 2 months ago. At this point, he's a day 1 card, and he's still the best small forward in the game. But it's the truth. James Posey. I actually think he's better than Trevor Ariza, which means I think I have to move Ariza down, which does, I think, fit, because I think Ariza, Purvis, and Sharif are all pretty similar to the tier, even Kiki. I actually kind of like this. The C tier's a strong C tier on this list. This is a good C tier, but all these cards are pretty usable still. But I think Posey is just more complete than Ariza badge-wise. If you compare those guys, I would say that Posey is probably, number one, he's got better badges all the way around, and I think statistically, they're pretty close as well. I'm actually going to go through and compare them real quickly just to prove that point, but I like all these cards a lot, man. I really do. I think there's a lot of very, very good cards at the small forward position, and that's honestly kind of a W. But as you can look at Posey's stats, yeah, overall, he's similar as a shooter. He's not quite as good as a slasher. Defensive stats are similar, but he's got an 85 interior instead of a 67, which is a big, big boost. Athletically, they're very similar, speed, agility, and vert. And then more importantly, even when you look at badges, that's where Posey really thrives. Just more complete badge-wise, more gold badges, more key badges, more shooting as well with Limitless and Deadeye added. Like, just a more complete version of a budget small forward than Trevor Ariza. So I think Posey goes B and Trevor goes C. And then finally, Paulo Banchero is the second best small forward in the game. He's basically LeBron light, does pretty much the same thing on the court as LeBron does, and is an absolute go-to guy at the offensive and defensive end as a small forward. Can play on ball, can shoot the ball at a high level, exceptional slasher, can put the ball on the floor a little bit. He is an absolutely elite card. He's definitely S tier as well. And honestly, I actually like the look of this list. I know it's a pretty strong list. The C tier really isn't bad, but overall, the small forward position, while not having a ton of super good cards, out of these guys, is relatively deep. And so you got a lot of solid options to choose from on this list and in this video. So with that being said, hope this video did help y'all out. If so, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.